My boss fired me without warning, but she forgot one important email. They escorted me out of the building at 4:47 p.m. Security wouldn't even let me grab my coffee mug. By 8:30 p.m., I was sitting on my couch, unemployed and devastated, scrolling through my personal email. That's when I saw it. An email thread. My boss, Victoria, and the VP. Subject line, Patterson Transition Personnel Timeline. Dated 3 weeks earlier. Discussing my campaign, my termination date, how they'd steal my work and erase my name. She'd forgotten to remove me from the CC line. One mistake, one email. It was about to destroy her entire career. And honestly, I couldn't wait. Let me back up. My name's Sarah Mitchell, and 6 months ago, I thought I had my dream job. I'd been at Meridian Digital, a marketing agency in Seattle, for 4 years. Started as a junior associate at 26, barely knowing how to run a campaign meeting. By year 4, I was senior marketing strategist, leading our biggest accounts. Victoria Chen was our creative director, 43, sharp as broken glass, always 3 steps ahead in every pitch. She'd mentored me since day 1, long coffee talks about strategy, letting me shadow her presentations, actually caring about my growth. "You've got instincts, Sarah," she'd told me during my second year. "That's not something you can teach." I admired her, trusted her completely. In June, the VP Richard assigned me the Patterson rebrand. Massive organic grocery chain, campaign budget around $400K. My first solo lead on something that big. Victoria seemed thrilled for me. Took me to lunch at that Italian place she loved. "You earned this. I'm so proud." She asked detailed questions about my strategy, said she wanted to stay in the loop to support me. So I set up a shared drive, CC'd her on every client email, walked her through every creative concept. Why wouldn't I? She was my mentor. But around late July, things felt off. Victoria started staying late, weird because she always left by 5:30 for her twin daughters. My friend Maya from accounting saw her at my desk one morning before I arrived. "Oh, just leaving you notes," Victoria had said, too quickly. Closed-door meetings with Richard that stopped abruptly when I walked past. She stopped inviting me to strategy sessions. Richard seemed cooler in the hallways. Small things, easy to ignore when you're drowning in work. I should have paid attention. October 12th, Thursday, 4:15 p.m. My desk phone rang. Victoria. "Can you come to my office?" Her door was already closed. She had a manila folder on her desk, hands pressed flat on top of it. "Sarah, this is incredibly difficult for me." She wouldn't look at me. "We're restructuring the creative department, budget cuts from corporate. Your position is being eliminated effective immediately." The room tilted. "What?" My voice sounded far away. "Victoria, we just landed Patterson. The client loves the campaign. The Vertex retention numbers?" The decision came from above me. Her tone was smooth, rehearsed. "HR will handle your severance package. I need your laptop and access badge. Can we at least talk about this? Did I do something?" "This isn't personal, Sarah. It's just business." She finally met my eyes, expression perfectly blank. "You're talented. You'll land somewhere." 30 minutes later, I was in the lobby. Security had walked me down. No goodbyes to Maya, no grabbing my things, just out. I sat in my car in the parking garage for over an hour, numb. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Then I drove home and fell apart. I don't remember the drive home. I remember sitting on my couch, still wearing my coat, staring at nothing. Called my sister. She was furious. They can't just... But they could. They had. Called my mom. She asked about health insurance, rent, whether I'd be okay. I didn't know. The apartment felt too quiet, too still, like the air had been sucked out. I changed into sweatpants, ordered Thai food I couldn't eat, and sat there with my laptop like it was a stranger. 4 years. Gone in 15 minutes. I kept replaying it. Victoria's face, that folder, the way security had stood there while I handed over my badge, like I was some kind of threat. My chest hurt, physically ached, this hollow pressure that wouldn't ease. Around 8 p.m., I opened my personal Gmail. I'd always forwarded some work stuff there for convenience, client contacts, file shares, approvals. I wasn't looking for anything specific, just something to make sense of it. Then I saw the subject line: Patterson Rebrand, Personnel Timeline. From Victoria to Richard, dated September 18th, CC Sarah Mitchell. My stomach dropped. I clicked it open. Richard, attaching the updated creative deck for Patterson. I've significantly strengthened Sarah's initial concepts into something presentation ready. Recommend we transition this to CD-level ownership before the November client meeting. Timeline attached for personnel change. Should minimize disruption. Victoria. I read it 3 times before my brain caught up. Richard's response, dated September 20th. Victoria, this is excellent work. Agree this level of strategy reflects senior creative vision. Let's discuss termination timeline this week. Prefer to move before she catches on. Before she catches on. There were 6 more emails. Victoria explaining how she'd restructure the team after taking over my campaign, Richard approving budget reallocation, a message about timing my firing for maximum convenience. The attached deck? My work. Every slide, every consumer insight, every brand positioning strategy I'd spent 4 months developing. She just changed the footer from my name to hers. My hands went ice cold. Then something clicked. Not panic, not even anger yet, just absolute clarity. I took screenshots of everything, saved the entire thread as a PDF, backed it up to Google Drive, Dropbox, and a USB drive I shoved in my desk drawer. Then I started digging. That shared drive Victoria asked me to set up, it was still accessible through my personal Google account. I downloaded everything: creative files, research briefs, strategy documents, all showing my name in the metadata, my timestamps on creation, client emails praising my innovative approach, forwarded to my personal account dozens of times, edit histories proving I had authored every single piece she was stealing. By 2 a.m., I had an organized folder. By 3 a.m., I had a timeline documenting the entire theft. By 4 a.m., I knew exactly what to do. I called Maya at 9 a.m. I need a lawyer. What happened? Victoria didn't just fire me, she stole my entire campaign, and I have proof. Maya came over that afternoon, read everything, and said something I won't repeat here. You need an employment attorney, like immediately. She gave me a name, Janet Reeves, 50s, sharp-eyed office in Capitol Hill that smelled like peppermint tea, free consultation. I brought printed copies of everything. Janet read in silence for 15 minutes. Then she sat back, removed her glasses, and almost smiled. This is textbook work appropriation and fraudulent termination. That email thread is... She paused. It's the kind of evidence lawyers dream about, gift-wrapped with a bow. Can we win? Honey, they'll settle before we see a courtroom. This is corporate liability nightmare fuel. They put the plan in writing. Over 2 weeks, we built an airtight case. Janet formally requested my personal file through legal channels. It arrived within 5 days. 4 years of spotless performance reviews, 2 bonuses, a raise 8 months ago, glowing feedback from clients. Not exactly the profile of someone fired for restructuring. Maya quietly reached out to former colleagues, found out Victoria had pulled this before. A junior designer named Marcus, 2 years ago, she'd taken credit for his rebrand concept he'd liked quietly, didn't fight it, but I wasn't Marcus. Janet sent the demand letter on a Monday morning, addressed to Meridian's CEO, VP, and HR director. Professional, precise, devastating. It laid out everything. The email chain, the file metadata, the timeline of theft, the suspicious termination date exactly 2 weeks before the client presentation. It strongly suggested mediation before we pursued formal legal action and a public lawsuit. We gave them 7 days to respond. Victoria called on day 3. I was buying groceries when her name flashed on my screen. My heart jumped. I let it go to voicemail, hand shaking as I held the phone. Sarah, hi, it's Victoria. I heard from HR that you've raised some concerns. I really think there's been a misunderstanding here. Maybe we could talk, just the two of us, off the record. I'd hate for this to become adversarial over what I'm sure is just a miscommunication. Her voice was warm, friendly, like we were still mentor and mentee, like she hadn't destroyed my career 4 weeks earlier. I saved the voicemail, forwarded it to Janet, didn't call back. Day 5, Richard emailed my personal account. Sarah, I'd like to discuss your concerns about the transition. I believe we can reach a resolution that benefits everyone. Please call me. Janet replied, all communication must go through legal counsel. Day 6, we got their response. Meridian wanted a meeting. All parties. They were bringing corporate counsel. That's when you know we've got them, Janet said. They're panicking. Tuesday, 10 a.m., 8th floor conference room. I wore the navy suit I'd worn to win the Patterson pitch. It felt like armor. Maya texted that morning, destroy her. The conference room was all glass and cold fluorescent light. Richard was already there, looking like he'd aged a decade. Victoria sat across from him, hands folded too tightly, face carefully composed but pale underneath. 2 HR reps, Meridian's corporate attorney, thin man, wire-rimmed glasses, expensive suit. Janet beside me, calm and ready. I sat down, made direct eye contact with Victoria. She looked away. Right then, I knew. Linda, the HR director, started with corporate speak. We appreciate everyone's willingness to engage in productive. Janet slid the printed email chain across the table. Pages perfectly aligned. Let's start here. Victoria's face drained of color, completely gray. Richard picked it up. His jaw visibly tightened. He'd written half these emails. This was taken out of context, Victoria said, voice tight. Sarah and I collaborated extensively on Patterson. I was refining her preliminary ideas into file metadata shows sole authorship. Janet placed another document down. Calm, surgical. Every creative asset, every research document, created by Sarah Mitchell between June 4th and September 15th. 0 collaborative input until September 19th, when you copied them into a folder under your name. Silence. The termination occurred October 12th, exactly 14 days before the November client presentation where you plan to present this work as your own. Linda turned to Victoria, expression hard. Miss Chen, did you create the Patterson Foods campaign materials? Victoria's composure cracked. I provided senior-level strategic oversight that... Your email says you significantly strengthened Sarah's initial concepts. That's not oversight. That's appropriation. Janet mentioned the designer from 2 years ago. Is there a pattern? Victoria's attorney whispered something to her. Victoria's shoulders slumped. Done. Settlement offer arrived in 48 hours. 9 months severance, full health insurance for 18 months, neutral reference letter, formal correction of my termination record, position eliminated due to restructuring, not performance-related, written apology from executive leadership. Janet negotiated harder, got them to add proper attribution of my work in all Patterson materials, and a clause preventing Victoria from ever claiming credit.
Victoria was placed on immediate suspension. According to Maya, she resigned within the week before they could formally terminate her. The Patterson campaign was reassigned, my work properly credited. Richard was demoted, removed from VP role within the month. They offered me my position back. Senior title, 30% raise, corner office. I declined. Not out of bitterness. I just realized I didn't want to work somewhere that had allowed this to happen, that required a lawsuit for basic integrity. I deserved better than that. 3 months later, I started at a competitor, senior creative strategist. Better clients, better team, a boss who values honesty. I don't think about Victoria anymore. Maybe she learned something. That's not my concern. What I learned: document everything. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong, and never underestimate the power of one email someone forgot to delete you from, because sometimes the evidence you need is already in your inbox. You just have to be brave enough to use it. The truth always wins. Eventually.